significa fallire spiritualmente.
What is it to fail
La verità
spiritually?
è una ed eterna.
Truth is one and eternal.
Realizza l'unione
Realize
con essa
oneness
nel tuo
with
sé
it
immortale,
in your
nel
deathless
profondo
self.
del tuo essere.
Within
Il seguente
the following
commento è basato
commentary
sugli
is based on
insegnamenti
the
di
teachings
Paramahansa
of
Yogananda.
Paramahansa Yogananda. The first passage is from the Gospel of St. Matthew, chapter 25. Jesus tells the parable of the 10 virgins, 5 of them wise and 5 foolish. They await their bridegroom, the Christ consciousness. The wise virgins keep the oil in their lamps, symbolic of their devotion. Lit through the night, the foolish virgins place no oil on their lamps. These foolish ones are like the average devotee going through the motions of outer ritual, but keeping no fire of love burning in the heart. When the bridegroom's coming is announced, the foolish virgins realize their mistake and hasten out to purchase oil. During their absence, the Christ consciousness comes and embraces those who have been awaiting him with devotion. The foolish ones, by their lackluster devotion, are not accepted by him. Watch, therefore, Jesus told his listeners, for you know neither the day nor the hour wherein the Son of Man cometh. In Autobiography of Yogi, Paramahansa Yogananda describes the foolish virgin consciousness he encountered in the Mahamantal hermitage he stayed in as a young man in Benares. I was pleased, he wrote, that my new home possessed an attic where I managed to spend the dawn and morning hours. The ashram members, knowing little of meditation practices, thought I should employ my whole time in organizational duties. They gave me praise for my afternoon work in their office. Don't try to catch God so soon. This ridicule accompanied one of my early departures toward the attic. Later, during meditation, I felt lifted, as stuffed bodily in a sphere uncircumscribed. Thy Master come today. A divine womanly voice came from everywhere and nowhere. This supernal experience was pierced by a shout from a definite locale. A young priest nicknamed Habu was calling me from the downstairs kitchen. Mukunda, enough for meditation. You are needed for an errand. The Divine Mother words were not spoken for the benefit of all priests, the foolish virgin, but for Mukunda, the wise virgin. For this was the day his guru, Shiva Takswar, came to him. Grieve not, friends. If you feel that you have been foolish, no error is forever. Someday, if you keep your lamp lit now, your opportunity will come. In the Bhagavad Gita, the 6th chapter, Krishna promises every devotee, Arjuna, none who works for the self-redemption will ever meet an evil destiny. Spiritual failure, though a deep disappointment, is always temporary. Eternal hellfire is but a projection of vindictiveness in the human mind. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Good morning, everyone. Have a nice Sunday. Does my mic works? Good. So also for those who are following from home, this parable of the ten virgin looking for the bridegroom with Christ is very well explained in this reading. There are those who were prepared and others that were not well prepared. Maybe they hadn't anticipated or they did a bad plan. Maybe they weren't aware of the hidden God and that we have to bring not only the lamp but also something within the oil in order to lead them. They hadn't anticipated that God is coming as a thief in the night. They weren't well prepared. What can we learn from these two examples? That we should anticipate some things. And today I would like to share with you a few thoughts how important it is for all of us to anticipate our failure, our lack, the moment of failure, to anticipate. And there will be so many opportunities every single day in which we are not ready yet and to do what we should do. We have some guidelines for the spiritual path. Who are our guidance? We have Patanjali. He made us understand what the path is towards samadhi through yamas, niyamas, meditation. So we know we are not ignorant. Yogananda gave us a path, very, very well detailed, of what we should do in order to know God, meet God. And we have to live with our lacking, because the goal is very high. It's clear that day after day we cannot achieve it. What does it mean? That we have to hold the asticella, the bar lower? No. My friend Premi appreciate a lot the athletes that do the high jump. I prefer more gymnasts, but I appreciate his taste for the high jump. How do they achieve their goal? They are not satisfied when we let the bar lower, so they lift the bar a little higher. And so maybe the first attempt is not the good one, but maybe the second, the third, one of the following days. And when we succeed, we are happy. And that's God and Guru, they do the same with us. They always raise the bar. And so we can see what we have to do. How can we handle and manage our inner life, knowing that every day we can fail? The first thing is not to identify, never identified with your failure, because they are not sins. They are just a test in which you are not succeeded yet. And so we try to do our best more and more. Yogananda sent a letter to a disciple saying, I don't care about your failures because they are temporary. They are what I care is if you are indifferent. When you are satisfied with a little result, or when we identified ourselves with these our failures, you can understand said a saint is a sinner that never gave up. So why every day we cannot succeed every day? It's not our fault. It's not. Why? Because behind us we have all the weights of our past karmas. So, and it's there. And we have to carry on that weight. And the other reason is that Maya is very, very powerful, but so powerful. And the more we go towards the light, the stronger is the resistance. At the very beginning, when we are not so interested in God and we are very mundane, Maya is not interested in us. It leaves ourselves to do whatever we want. But as we do our first step in a path, Maya awakes and says, oh my God, now I have to do something. There is a little story, an anecdote in a different letter, saying there is a young devil in hell, and one day the boss called him and give him his first duty. And the young devil is very happy about it. And the duty he receives is very simple. And the boss says, I want that you go to Rome, and there is Mr. Rossi, that is very a good devotee, and he every day he wakes up at 4 o'clock and meditates for 3 hours before going out for job. So your duty is to stop him. And the little devil said, good, very easy. So this little young devil go watch that man, Mr. Rossi, in his bedroom, and see that in the room there is the alarm clock set it for 4 a.m. And so that man wake up at 4 o'clock and start meditating all his practice. So he's fine, and then he leaves. And so the devil says, so tomorrow I will sit above the alarm clock, and so the alarm clock will not ring. And so he do so. And so that day, Mr. Rossi wake up at 6:45. He goes to work without practicing. And the devil is so proud about himself. He goes back to his boss and he said, mission accomplished. And the devil says, not at all. Haven't you noticed that when Mr. Rossi at job, he thought about God all day long. So you have failed. You haven't accomplished your duty. So Maya is so strong. See, the cards are set against us. Le carte sono contro di noi. Le carte sono contro di noi. Le carte sono contro di noi.
Le carte sono contro di noi? Ci siamo? Le carte sono contro di noi. Il karma,
Karma,
il potere del
the
Maya.
power of Maya.
Cosa possiamo fare
And what can we do
con questo?
with those things?
Dobbiamo capire
We have to understand how Maya works in our life, because you can understand that the seasons of failure is the best moment
per inseminare
to seed the soil, to plant the seed.
è molto importante
And that's very important for us to face a failure. Yeah. Because in that moment, if we go within us,
mancanza di felicità, siamo infelici.
there is a lack of happiness. We are unhappy. And as we know, we know that we do not want to stay unhappy. So we have to take the step in order to change the situation. So how does Maya work within us? So the first weapon is to identify ourselves as a sinner and to have a sense, to develop the sense of guilt for God, for Master, but they don't care. I always share this story of a priest that is a friend of a rabbi. And the rabbi is very well known to be so elevated that he talks directly to God. They talk together, and God, he asks and God answers to him. So the priest goes to the rabbi saying, "Dear friend, the next time you talk to God, would you please ask him if he has forgiven my sins?" And he's very anxious, and after a few days he come back and he said, "Rabbi, have you heard God? Have you received the answer?" "Yes, I have." "And so what is the answer?" And he said, "He forgot about your sins." But we do not. We carry on our mistakes, our sins, but we should let go. We should let behind, because if God doesn't matter, why should we? There's something more. And now we will touch the core, the oil of the lamp. There is another way. There is another instrument of Maya. Maya let us think that we won't succeed. It's too difficult, it's too high. We feel that the great devotee of Yogananda, Rajarsi Janakananda, Yogananda said about him that he became a saint in a short time because he did everything Master asked. Everything. And we? I also heard, but I couldn't find the quote, so I asked Rudra or Jayadev. I heard that Master also said, if we do 10% of what we are asked, we can find God. Yeah. Yeah. So that's the right quote. One day we will touch zero. Anyway. Okay. So think We can think that is too much, what Master is asking, what is Patanjali is saying. We will never succeed, so I do not even try. I would like to remind a dream that Yogananda had. And the message of this dream is very important. In that dream, Yogananda saw himself in a very dirty, noisy, open market, not a nice place to be. And he sees lots of people around him. Then he turned back and he could see a nice smile. And then that person says no and is almost depressed. And Yogananda saw in that dream that many people had the same reactions. So he also turned back and he could see a high mountain, and on the top of the mountain a golden shining village. And Yogananda thought, I would like to reach that peak, that village, but it's too high, it's too far. So Yogananda is going back to his duties, but another thought came to his mind. Yes, it's higher, it's far. You can't jump, but you can take the first step, and step after step, at the end, I will arrive. That's the importance of this realization, this understanding. When we do not succeed, to look back and realize what will be my first step. I would like to share with you a few quotes by Master. From Conversation with Yogananda, number 9, Master was used to say, if you practice only the 1% of what I teach you, you will find God. So Yogananda says, failure, suffering in material or spiritual life do not occur in one's life by chance. Self-analysis tells one the natures of one's difficulties and the knowledge of one's own power to cope with them. Without self-analysis, we cannot find the power. Self-analysis, in one word, furnishes us with the knowledge of what we are, what our difficulties are, what strength our faculties have, and what our mistakes or shortcomings are. The season of failure is the right time in order to see, and so you can be prepared, ready, and wait for the next time. So when the thought comes, I'm not worthy, I'm a child of God, I will achieve that goal sooner or later. God doesn't care. We should be well prepared in order to face, to handle this moment of failure, so we can go on. Many years ago, when I was living at another village, I went with many people, with Swamijis, 50 years ago. I went to a woman that she was a psychic,
Penso forse lei è immortale.
and I thought she was immortal.
E lei c'è ancora. Comunque,
She's still living.
sono andata
So I went there
e ho chiesto
and I asked her
se
her
ero stata con Yogananda.
if I was with Yogananda in the previous lives. And she said, yes, you were many times.
Una volta
And one time
si dice bene,
you were
segretario
his secretary,
il compito di
and
scrivere
your duty was to write down
per la posterità.
all his
Ma
teachings.
eri sempre frustrata.
But you were frustrated all the time because you couldn't understand the wisdom of his teachings. And you knew that you were imperfect. And so you were anxious and sad. And one day, Master said to you,
L'imperfezione è perfezione.
sometime imperfection is perfect, is perfection. And in this message is a very nice one. Try to do your best, even though it's not the best. Is what you can do in that moment.
È una bella pratica
It's a very nice practice every single night
fare un rendiconto
to review
di quello che abbiamo fatto
what you have done in that day
e di vedere due cose.
and to see two different things. The moment
Siamo riusciti
in which you have failed
a fare quello che sappiamo
to do what you were supposed to do
di guardare.
and to look at them
Poter
in order to,
un pensiero, un programma. La
to
prossima volta,
plan.
quando qualcuno mi dice
So the next time
brutta,
someone addressed to you bad words, instead of reacting, you will breathe, you will pause, you will try to understand that the person is suffering
senza un senso di colpa,
without any sense of guilty. So you can see how to go on in a better way.
ma c'è un'altra cosa
But there is something else we can do
sto rendiconto.
during our review at the end of the day.
Avvicinando l'ultimo dell'anno,
And we are approaching New Year's Eve when we do a review of the past years
ma di vedere
to
una sera
look every
abbiamo fatto
night what we have done well, our victories, our achievements. We have to acknowledge them all
solo le vittorie,
because
piccole, anche se
also little victories, little achievements.
ci crea
Even though today we could practice only 12 kriyas, that was a victory. Even though today we could stay concentrated in the spiritual eye for 3 minutes
all'inizio del lavoro.
at the beginning of our job, it's a victory. And that's very important to acknowledge our victories, because step by step we are approaching God. We are getting closer to Him. Yogananda recommends a book that he
Ai suoi discepoli un anno
gifted to his disciple, and the book is Imitation of Christ
Cristo. L'autore è
by Thomas Kempis.
Imitation of Christ. Yogananda ha detto
Yogananda said,
alla gente di leggere
I do not recommend people to read the books, but this one, please. And I would like to share a quote.
e quando Swami ha chiesto
And when Swami asked Master,
che questo prete
it seems that
un maestro
that priest was a master,
Yogananda
don't you?
sì.
Yogananda said, yes, he was.
Quindi a Kempis ha scritto,
And so Kempe said,
senza l'amore,
without
il
love,
lavoro
the
esteriore
outward work
non ha alcun
is of no value.
ma tutto
But
ciò
whatever is done
fatto per
out
amore,
of love,
anche se
be it ever so little,
è totalmente
is wholly
fruttuoso,
fruitful.
perché Dio
For God
considera
regards
la
the
grandezza
greatness of the
dell'amore
love
che
that
si
prompts a man
più che la
rather than
grandezza
the
della
greatness
sua
of his
felicità.
achievement.
Chi ama
Whoever loves much
fa molto,
does much.
anche se facciamo poco,
So even if you do a little, it's
perché l'amore
much.
non è il fallimento.
Because in love there is no failure. And I would like to end with a story that we all know very well, the story of Saint Peter, the apostle, very close to Christ. And we know that him, as predicted by Jesus, he denied to be his disciple for 3 times during the last days of the life of Jesus. He denied his guru.
Dice che non c'è un peccato più grande
Yogananda said there is
di tradire,
not a greater
quindi al massimo.
mistake of
E non solo,
betraying your
poi è
guru.
stato diciamo
But
codardo,
so he did it
si era
3 times.
dopo.
He was a
Passano
coward.
i giorni, Gesù è risorto,
But days passes,
sono i
and
discepoli
one day his disciple,
che fanno i pescatori e fanno di notte.
they gather in the night. Dawn came,
L'apostolo
and Saint John,
vede che sulla riva c'è una figura,
he sees a
subito,
shape close to the water, and he
e Giovanni
realized that it's Jesus Christ.
Signore
And he starts screaming, Lord! And he dived into the water. And Peter followed him. So that's a very beautiful moment in the Gospel. It's the last moment in which Christ appears in the Gospel. So he prepared breakfast. He was eating and talking. Everything was very beautiful. And suddenly Jesus says to Peter, Peter, do you love me? And Peter said, yes, my Lord, I love you. So who knows? And then in a different moment, Jesus asked, Peter, do you love me? Yes, Lord, I love you. And then a third time. And Peter screamed, yes, Lord, I love you. And so Jesus starts smiling. And that's the end of the story. 3 sins forgiven. Follow love. I love you a lot. Does much. And that's the oil of the lamp. That's our devotion. Anything you can do, even it's a little, if you do it with love for God, we are forgiven, we are saved. Can we sing for a little while, How Shall I Love You, Lord my God? Page 50. Vabbè, non ricordo. Quanto ti amerò, mio Signore, tutta la mia vita. Quanto ti amerò, mio Signore, tutta la mia vita. Come un fuoco arde il bosco, brucerò l'ego in te. Come un fuoco arde il bosco, brucerò l'ego in te. Quanto ti amerò, mio Signore, tutta la mia vita. Quanto ti amerò, mio Signore, tutta la mia vita. Come un fuoco arde il bosco, brucerò